Welcome to the Real Estate Raw Show, hosted by Joe Mendoza.
Hi guys, Joe Mendoza here in sunny San Diego. Welcome to my show. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited to have an incredible guest on the show. He shares a lot of the same philosophies as I do. So check this out. 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65. 36% are dead. In 2018, the median savings of an American family was less than $12,000. The average was only $176,000, nowhere near enough to retire. Americans are suffering financially due to the failure of our formal educational system to teach the principle of money and wealth. The good news is that we know what the 5% that do retire wealthy are doing. They all have a second stream of income. 70% of them use real estate to generate that income. Mr. Stephen Davis is the founder of the Real Wealth Academy. He runs a daily Get Real Wealth radio show, has accumulated 4,000 apartment units. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Stephen Davis. How are you?
Excellent. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you here. So let's give the audience some backstory, how this overnight sensation was just not an overnight story, I'm sure.
What happened with me, or my beginnings, were I was in corporate America, like just about everybody starts out. And I had worked 5 years for a company. I placed first place in a national sales contest. My reward was a trip to Hawaii for a week, which was wonderful, and a $20,000 a year pay cut. And it was the epiphany moment for me that just having a job was without a doubt the highest risk position that you can possibly be in. And my wife, even because I was working 60, 70 hours a week, I almost lost my wife because I say this in a funny way, but nobody ever laughs. If you're working 60, 70 hours a week, who's romancing your wife? It ain't you.
All right,
and
I'm laughing on that one.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I thinking? Here's this gorgeous woman in her 20s, and I expect her to sit at home 60, 70 hours a week. Wow. So I did save the marriage. We've been married 34 years. But that was when I started buying every set of books and CDs I could get off of late night TV on real estate investing. Tom Vu, Dave Delgado, Carlton Sheets. And I started studying them and then came across a thing called wholesaling. So I started wholesaling. That allowed me to quit my job because I was making 5 to 10 grand a month doing that. Then I started flipping, eventually moved to single family rental. And then I got lucky, got a little 10-unit apartment. And that woke me up to the power of commercial real estate and how different it is than single family. And then I went to about 100 units before I started passively investing in the big ones, 200, 300, 400, 500 units. And now all I do is teach and invest passively in apartments.
That's fantastic.
Oh, and self-storage.
That's fantastic. So you kind of climbed the ranks all the way from single family all the way to commercial. Now you're giving back. And I love that part because that's why I have this show, is hopefully somebody's going to get touched out there. Now, was this road pretty bumpy or was it smooth? I'd love to hear some of the raw stuff that maybe kind of set you back, but got you refocused.
I'll tell you, the little 10 unit that I did was probably the biggest setback because when I bought it, I'd run single family and I made a very bad assumption. I said, look, if I can run 100 single family houses, I can easily run a 10-unit apartment. Not realizing that apartments are completely different from single family. It's a different business model. And so I got my lunch eaten the first year, kind of broke even cash flow wise for the year. And then I read, oh, doggone it, Burgess's book on apartments. And I go, holy Toledo, I'm sitting on a gold mine and I didn't even know it. I began to understand the relation between NOI and cap rate and started to realize that that thing was worth a lot more than I had paid for it. So I raised the rents, did everything I could. And you know, the funny thing is, Joe, I still did it wrong. about a year later, I was doing an analysis of another apartment complex and realized I sold that 10 unit about 200 grand below what it was worth.
Wow.
Because you study it, you need a mentor. I wish I had had somebody beside me that could have put their arm around me and said, don't sell it at that price. You're wrong. And I didn't. So it was all about reading and studying. So that was why I love what I do, because I do put my arm around people and go, hold on, that's the wrong thing to do. Let's try it this way.
Absolutely. Wow, that's a great story. Now, you put on your website, and I agree with you about this. You put the system is broken, right? So a lot of people are trained, go to school, get an education, get a great job, and the rest will figure itself out. But here we are in COVID, a lot of people are probably furloughed. Their hours are cut. You know, a lot of craziness is going on. What would be your best advice to kind of like for people to pivot, or how do they navigate through this incredible storm?
Well, the first thing they've got to do is make sure that they stay positive and don't get negged out and don't get depressed. The word I'm looking for is not coming to me, but it's when you feel like there's no hope. There is hope, but it's in you, not in corporate America, that you've got to realize that you are talented and you should build a second stream of income. Because COVID came around, 2008 came around. I think 2021 is going to be a little bit like 2008. So the average person, a guy told me this the other day. He goes, it's like standing in the ocean and 4-foot wave hits you, knocks you down. Then you get back up, but what's coming? Another 4-foot wave. In other words, there's another recession coming. There's another COVID incident coming. And because these people only have one source of income, they're not prepared for it. That people need to understand you generate a second stream of income, and that should be the focus over the next few years, because it's not if another COVID or recession is coming, it's when, and you want to be prepared for it. One of my students got laid off, but he didn't care because he had a second stream of income that paid all his bills. So when he walked into the office and they fired everybody, 23 people, I think it was, 22 of them were crying. He just grabbed a cardboard box, packed up his desk and left because he didn't care. He had that second stream of income. It's a lifesaver.
Wow, that's a great tip. Great tip. Now, somebody out there listening to the show, they're saying, hey, I'm middle America. I'm making 20, 40,000 a year. You know, I read in the Wall Street Journal the other day that some people are using their credit cards to pay for their rent. So it has that real challenge where they have money, they're living off a credit card to buy. What's that advice there?
Well, I have to go back 27 years when I got that pay cut, and you're not making fun of me. It's just what happens with a 27-year-old. I got a pay cut. I was living paycheck to paycheck. So what happened to me? Boom. All of my payments got behind. I started living off of credit cards. The only thing that I know of that you can do is wholesale. And I was wholesaling without using any of my own credit, without using any of my own money. And like I said, I was making between 5 and 10. One month I made $40,000. It allowed me to quit that 60-hour-week job and actually make more money than I was making at the job. So wholesaling is a great vehicle for people who are really down and out. Discouraged, that's the word I was looking for. Don't get discouraged. You've got to stay strong. You've got to stay positive. Keep looking for ways to build a second stream of income. And you may have to start with wholesaling if you're like what you described.
Perfect. Great tip. Now, somebody out there that might have the extreme opposite, and not to knock anybody out there, but I've dealt with them and I know what gets in the way. There's this thing called the ego. You know, they have this high paying job and they want to go big. They're like probably an attorney, a dentist, a doctor. They're like, okay, you know what? Let's just jump into multifamily right away or storage. What's your advice to them who's listening?
You just described a big mistake is highly intelligent people think that they're highly intelligent in every arena. And so, like you said, that's an ego-based point. And that's why it's so easy to manipulate attorneys, doctors, CPAs into the dumb doctor deal. And so my advice to them is get educated. I have a bunch of syndicators in my group. They won't allow people into their deals unless they've taken about 9 hours of training to understand NOI, to understand the cap rate, to understand that there may be 1 year where you're down, not to freak out. So it's all about education. There are multiple great mentoring groups across the United States, including mine, that will teach you exactly how to do that so you don't make a dumb doctor deal.
Wow, Stephen, I love that. So that's a prerequisite before investing with a particular group or syndication, sounds like.
Yeah, our guys know, because I took a guy into a deal and he was very egotistical. He goes, I don't want to take any classes, but I'm sitting here on $1 million. And I got lazy, a little bit greedy. And I said, okay, I'll take you in my deal. He was a pain in the butt. He didn't understand anything. Every time I sent him the reports, it was 30 minutes on the phone. I was like, you know what? I'm going to refund your money or you go take those classes. He ended up taking the classes because he didn't want out of the deal. But I told him, I said, you don't know what you're doing. I shouldn't have taken your money. Yeah, you want educated investors in your syndications.
Love it. Love it. What you've done a lot of different asset classes. Which one was probably your favorite?
Oh, there's no doubt that apartments are, oh, you said favorite. Apartments have been the most profitable for me, but my favorite is single family. I love leasing a little house to a family. I love when their AC goes out. I love that phone call. Call my AC guy, get them taken care of, and then they call me and they thank me. I love that. It's a fun business. Apartments are just as much fun, I'm sure, but there's so many of them, it was just overwhelming. I prefer passive in apartments, but yeah, I run single family myself. I just love it.
Fantastic. Thanks for that tip there. The other day, I was with a coaching client and we were talking about finances and cash flow, et cetera. And they're very sophisticated and they're actually very successful. Now, we got into this conversation is when's enough enough? And I think it's a great idea to begin with the end in mind. What's your thoughts with somebody who's doing the homework, reading the books, listening to podcasts? How do you start?
Ooh, I thought you were going to ask, when do you quit? How do you start? I think you can't, of course, wait for all the lights to be green to leave the house. And some people do that. I think it's commonly called analysis paralysis. So as soon as I trust a syndicator and I understand the deal, that's the time to take action. But if you don't trust your syndicator, you don't feel right about him or her, you don't fully understand the numbers, pause. But as soon as you do, you need to take action immediately, because people procrastinate terribly in this, I guess, around the world. But yeah, as soon as you understand those two things, jump.
So the analysis part, knowing the numbers, which kind of ties back into your 10 units, sounds like.
Yes, you can make mistakes easily if you don't educate yourself.
I agree. Now let's finish that on when do you stop and decide to pull the plug?
See, that's the unanswerable question, but I always love talking about it. And the reason it's unanswerable is because I originally had 20 grand a month as my goal. As soon as I had 20 grand a month in passive income, I was going to be done. But what happens is, it's not that you want more money, it's that you want more success. And you go, well, doggone it, I think I'll do another 300 unit. I'll do another 500 unit. Maybe I'll add 1,000 units to my portfolio and go to $30,000 a month. But you end up at $100,000 a month before you ever stop. So I think it's different for every person. But I do believe when you start, you should pick a number. Let's say it's 20. What I'm telling my students is 2 times whatever you make earned. So if you're making 10 grand a month at your job, get 20 grand a month in passive income and then quit your job and not before. Then you've got money to pay all your bills and for romance and for travel and all the other fun parts of life. But again, most people, once they do that, they go, I think I'm gonna go a little further. It's just fun. But
right.
But you got to keep greed in control, because I've also seen people take on too much property and ruin their quality of lifestyle and have to back up.
That's right. That's right. I've seen that happen as well. That's fantastic. So, given the state of the economy right now, are there any particular marketplaces you favor?
Wow. Texas is rocking. So I'm lucky to be in Texas, all across Texas, Phoenix, Orlando. Man, I could go on and on and on. It's all about the deal. In other words, I've had people, even in San Diego, where the prices are crazy, and that's where you're at, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Where the prices per unit is insane. I've got people who are patiently waiting and picking them up when the price is right. And they're even making money there, but the appreciation there's insane. Whereas we don't get a huge amount of appreciation. All of ours is forced appreciation, where we're upping the NOI. So I like any city, anywhere, if you know what you're doing. If you find the right deal, you can make money in any city. But again, your question, sorry, is I love Texas, Arizona, Nevada, parts of North Carolina, parts of Florida. I think there's opportunity across the U.S.
What are some of the things that you look out for in picking a marketplace?
I stay in the big metropolitan areas that are diverse. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't go into the small communities, but I have to admit, one of my students did that and ended up with 31 single family houses. I was like, how in the heck did you do that in a city of 600 or 700 people? It was amazing. So I think it can be done anywhere. But for me, I like the big metropolitan areas with tons of different jobs, diverse income, and lots of units, lots of apartments.
Love it. Love it. Now, there's some investors, some mentors, some gurus out there saying, live where you want to live, invest where it makes money. What are your thoughts and beliefs on that?
To me, that's the grass is greener on the other side of the fence concept. I think that there's fantastic deals where you live. As if I was a guru, which I guess to some people I am, my rule is don't invest more than 30 minutes from your house if you're in a big major metropolitan area. Like if you go out to Katy, Texas, which is just west of Houston, pick a point, draw a circle, 30 minutes in either direction, you've got millions of homes to look at, tens of thousands of apartment complexes to look at. We don't have to go very far. Now, with that said, if somebody's in a rural area, they may want to, they say they live 2 hours north of Houston in a very rural area. They may want to choose Katy or Pearland or these cities that surround Houston and mark a 30-minute circle around that, even though they're an hour and a half away from that 30-minute circle. But I do like to keep all my property, especially single family, controlled in one area.
Got it. Great point, Stephen. Now, somebody listening to this show, they've been around the block a few times. They say, okay, great, Stephen. You said San Diego, the cap rates are like 2 to 3%, but I'm going to bank on appreciation. This person lived through the crazy bust, 2007 to 2000, or even before that, like 2004 to 2007, where in actuality, true story, property values got cut 50% here in San Diego. I don't think that's going to happen again with the lending guidelines right now.
Right.
And the government got more intelligent about the economy, but they have that fear planted back in their head. Maybe they're a baby boomer. What advice could you share with them?
It goes back to the deal. If the cap rates on every property there are that low, then they need to look at investing in Texas. So I'm kind of contradicting what I said before, but one of our students is out there. He found a massively distressed property, and I'm talking each unit needed about 10 grand work, and that's huge on a 700 square foot apartment. And he purchased it. His cap rates, I don't know them exactly, but they were more in line with what we're doing, which is 6 to 12. But it's got to be the right deal. But if there's very few of them there, then you need to think about coming out to Texas and investing here. So what I said was a rule. You may be the exception to the rule.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, any other tips or advice on investing? Do you like buying on terms, price, 30%, ARV? Is there any other rules that you could share with the audience?
Well, in Houston and across Texas, really, even in Phoenix, we're staying in the, our rental properties, ARVs, are between 150 and 220. Now, we're generally buying them 20, 25% below, and that's the all-in cost. I'm talking purchase price, rehab, and closing costs. We're in 20, 25%, sometimes 30% below market. Our flips, we've lowered how high we go on our flips because of COVID. All of my students are flipping 300 or less, because if you go to 400, those things end up negative cash flow. If COVID causes a crash, which I think it will, I don't want my students stuck with those, unable to flip them. So we went from 400 down to 300, because if they do get stuck, those 300 will rent at positive cash flow.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you have any favorite systems, CRMs, Podio, Asana, anything like that that you like to use or recommend?
I don't have any systems for the commercial side of it that I recommend, but I do love cozy.co for single family. If you're familiar with that, that is one of the neatest little things, and their team seems to be constantly improving it. There is nobody's resting on their laurels there. So that's for single family. I mean, you upload photos, upload leases, upload lease applications, everything's kept for you. It's really cool.
That's great. And on letters, people hear something about, hey, you should send out yellow letters or do it through any one of these systems. How long should they keep sending until they say, hey, you know what, nothing's happening, let me stop mailing to this absentee or something like that?
Wow, that's a tough one, because you can't give up. That's the rule. You can't give up. But I can tell you this, my students don't do a lot of mail outs. They don't do a lot of lists. If they do, then what we're doing is we're texting. Let's say we get a list of 10,000 absentee or vacant units or divorced units or whatever. They text to 10,000. They get 300 responses. We then turn those into phone calls. That reduces it down to 50. Then we'll start mailing out to a very small group, trying to get that 3 to 7 touches, which, as you know, you've got to have. But believe it or not, probably 80% of our deals come from real estate agents. No, probably 60 to 70. And then 30 or so percent are coming from professional wholesaling groups. The wholesalers that are my students, they're believe it or not, from agents. And what's happening is we have a script. It's nothing secret, but we know how to cultivate a group of agents that will bring us distressed property that they can't sell otherwise, because you can't get a conventional loan on it. So these agents are turning down listings because they look at it and go, hey, there's no loan for this, I can't sell this. But then they talk to one of my students, and the student says, I can either pay cash or do hard money. Now they get the listing and call my student. So it's probably, like I said, it's 60, 70% are coming from realtors.
That's fantastic, Stephen. What gets you out of bed nowadays? You very accomplished, done a lot of great things, helped a lot of people. What gets you out of bed nowadays?
I think I'm very lucky in that I found my Dharma, my purpose. And it was when I started investing passively in investments, I realized that I didn't like real estate. I was like, I don't even like this compared to teaching. I said, I love to teach. And about that time, a lady came in tears, and she said, my husband was going to commit suicide.
Wow.
And I asked her what she meant. She said, you got him to quit his job and buy that little 32-unit apartment complex. He makes more money off of that. He now sings in the shower. Our romance is back. And that was when I knew that's what I love to do. I love to teach because of stories like that.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever gotten through that story without crying.
I pulled back there, my friend. That was deep. That was deep.
Yeah,
and so hopefully somebody out there just heard that message, because that's incredible, guys. When you have the ability to turn your life around, I mean, it helps to have a mentor like Stephen or myself. And man, I could promise you, probably somebody listening to this show is right on that fence line. So any last advice, ways to get a hold of you? You shared such incredible words of wisdom, and I really, really appreciate you, Stephen. Anything else you wanted to share?
I think that my big message is anybody can do this. It is all about education. Get with Joe, get with me, get a mentor, get yourself educated, believe in yourself. And again, don't get discouraged, because that's what kills. If you plant negativity in your mind, negativity will grow. If you plant positivity, positivity will grow. You want to be around like-minded people. Do you have a club out there, Joe?
We have a few.
That people can join?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to be, I don't care what anybody says. If you want to be a pro athlete, you join a golf club or a tennis club, and then there's people out there going, I want to be a professional investor, real estate investor, and they don't join a real estate investor club. To me, that's ludicrous. You need to join with Joe if you're out there. Get around like-minded people, get that encouragement, get the knowledge, and then take massive action.
You're the man, Stephen. Best way to get a hold of you?
Oh, go to getrealwealth.com, or listen to my radio show, and you can find that at getrealwealth.com. So that's the best source.
Thank you, sir. This was incredible. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wow. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I hope you learned as much as I did, or more. So guys, look at the comment thread. If you've seen something or heard something, want to learn more about something, please put it on the comment link below. If you're not a subscriber yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and smash that bell to hear the latest and greatest on the show. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. I'm putting this channel together to hopefully add incredible value to you. And if you want to learn more about investing, you're new to investing, I highly recommend this book, Flex with a Plex. Also, this book, if you're having some challenges, as you can see, everybody on the show had some kind of adversity, including yours truly. So I shared a lot of that on Make It a Comeback, giving you some incredible tips to make a comeback. So get either one, Flex with a Plex or Make It a Comeback. If you want to get more tips, go ahead and go to joemendoza.com. Again, subscribe, share, like, make a comment below. I really, really appreciate you. Want to add incredible value, and wish you all the best in your success in real estate and in life. Take care.
Our company is not responsible for the success or failure of your business decisions relating to any information presented by our company or our company programs, products, and/or services.